Hi, Rob Brown here, host of the Accounting Influencers podcast, doing a quick impromptu interview where we shine a light on somebody really special in the accounting world that is shaking things up, trying to make a difference and be a force for good in what is a very disruptive time for accountants. I've got Erin Daiber with me. She is doing some amazing things out of San Diego, California. So we're going to talk about what she's doing, where she's heading, and how she's making a difference. And most importantly, what she's seen happening right now in the accounting world and her vision for the future. So, Erin, lovely to speak with you.
Great to speak with you too. Thanks for having me.
Erin, you've got a Big Four background. We were just doing a little pre-chat here. Tell us a bit about your world before now.
Yes, I started my career in the San Diego office of EY. I was an auditor. I spent about 3.5 years there working on a variety of different clients. Ultimately made the decision to move into industry where I worked as a financial analyst for several years. And that's really when I discovered that my skill set was better suited to something a little bit outside of the numbers. I
Mm,
found that really the numbers side of accounting wasn't my passion, but that I really still had a love for the people in the profession. So that's how I came to find coaching and strategic partnership as a way to still support the profession, but not do the numbers side of it myself.
yes, the technical side is all great for a season, isn't it? But then you want, well, no disrespect to the technical people who want to be in a dark room with the spreadsheets and the numbers, but you were destined obviously for a wider scope in life.
To be fair, I still love a spreadsheet.
Okay.
I I do still love a spreadsheet, use them all the time. But yes, I just think my skill set and my more of a focus on wanting to be creative and find interesting outside of the box solutions to problems is not the best suited for a really highly compliance-based profession.
Yes, we don't normally put the words creative and accountant together, do we? Because
Usually not.
that's when problems happen. So you took a step into the coaching world. Presumably, you took a coaching qualification. There are a million things you could coach accountants, financial professionals on. So what do you specialize in? What are your areas of passion?
I really love the leadership development side, helping emerging leaders inside of firms to develop that self-awareness early on to be able to not only be the best leaders they can be, but also to sort of self-diagnose and coach themselves through their challenges that they're inevitably going to face throughout their career. It's something that I didn't have at the time. And when I got my coaching credential, I looked back very often and thought, gosh, this would have been helpful when I was working long hours or dealing with a difficult client or a boss that I didn't really vibe with as well. I could have worked through a lot of those issues more efficiently if I had those tools. So I love to impart that on those young emerging leaders. I also really love coaching new partners that are stepping into that role, now trying to navigate the dynamics of firm ownership, working with
Mm.
this new group of colleagues in the partner group, which often there's a lot of dynamics there. And my other area that I really have been enjoying lately is working with firms on their succession planning. So helping leaders who are getting ready to take on the next chapter, maybe leave their baby behind in many cases, this firm that
Mm.
they've built and helping them to navigate not only the tactical sides of that, but also the emotional component of wrapping up something that you've invested so much time and energy into.
Wow. There's such great areas and so much in demand. I'm thinking with your Big Four background, it would be natural that you would go back there. But the bigger firms that they have that in-house capability, they do mentoring, they do coaching, and they're probably all over this. But there is a slew of firms below that that are what, a couple of million upwards to a 50, 100 million that's a sweet spot for you, isn't it? Probably.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. It looked like you froze, and then I think it was me.
Yeah, you were in full flow and then you just stopped and froze. So I
Oh,
don't
sad.
know, but I've kept the recording going and we'll
Okay.
edit that seamlessly. But let me ask you
Okay.
that last question again.
Sure.
So, Erin, coming from a Big Four background, it might be natural for you to go back into that world and the big firms, but they have a lot of in-house capability in that regard, don't they? A lot of mentoring, coaching programs. So, I would imagine a sweet spot for you in terms of a client is the smaller firms, couple of million, 100 million. That's right for you, isn't it? To go in there and really get you roll your sleeves up.
Absolutely. I commend the Big Four and all the larger firms for really being cutting edge with their training. They have the financial ability and they've got teams in place that are really thinking ahead, being creative about staying on really at the cutting edge of training and development in all ways. But that is not feasible for a lot of the smaller firms. So what I really think one of our opportunities is with working with those smaller firms is to take those ideas, take that cutting edge approach that is being rolled out in the larger firms and bringing it back, making it attainable, making it more financially feasible for firms of all sizes, because there's
Mm.
really things that you can do on any budget that can improve your firm performance and also improve the experience that your team is having and work to build your pipeline and be really intentional about that.
Yeah. One of the things we both discovered is plenty of consultants go into firms with great ideas and they shake things up and they tell firms what to do and then they leave them. There's no, have you frozen again? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening.
I'd like to say the old line, it's not you, it's me. But I don't know. I
I
don't
don't think
know.
it is. I think it might be us today. I don't know if it's the weather or like something is happening. I'm not sure. I'm so sorry. How unprofessional.
I'm not blaming you. It's one of those things. If you're okay for time and you're okay persevering, I'm happy to.
I'm okay, yes. And I've closed everything else. So the only thing my internet has to do is this Zoom. So
I was just thinking the same thing, closing down some tabs. Let me hit you with that last question again. And it was about how some consultants come in and they leave firms without the follow-up and the implementation. So let's go with
okay.
that. And
I didn't
then,
even hear that one. So
right, okay. Well, I hope I got your answer to the back end of the question. Okay, so we're still recording. Erin, what we sometimes found, and you'll hear this from firms that you're talking to all the time, is that they bring consultants in, they bring advisors in, maybe even some coaches in, and they'll give them great ideas and shake things up and set a plan for them. But when it comes maybe to implementation and holding their hand and staying the course, that might be a little bit lacking. Just speak about that in terms of your own methodology.
yeah, it's one of the things that we started to hear early on from clients. It was a concern actually about working with consultants. They had done it in the past and
Mm,
maybe not gotten that level of support, which usually translates into not being able to implement a lot of those good ideas. Because
Mm.
in this profession in particular, we're battling against the inertia of everyday life. And in accounting, that is significant. There's a lot of other demands for your time, a lot of other demands and priorities. So that's one of the areas that we focused on when we're thinking about crafting an engagement and how we're going to work with our clients. So we really want to know ahead of time, what are those other priorities? What are the things that are competing for your time and energy? What are the other deadlines you have? Just because we know everybody's spread thin. So we think about all of that. We try to incorporate that. And we're also very hands-on. So we make sure to put those accountability structures in place and make sure we're there to hold your hand with the implementation as much as you want us to. Some firms like to take it and run with it,
Yeah.
but others really find that they need that extra support and accountability to make sure they're implementing and implementing effectively in the best way possible.
Yeah. It's interesting. You call it a profession. So many people call it an industry, and we talk about the brand of accounting and why it's struggling to attract people. Maybe because we relegate it to an industry and that kind of blue collar feel about it. But for you, you've got your stripes, your EY to start with. So you obviously see it as a profession.
I do. Yeah, I think there's a really high standard of care that CPAs put and accountants put into their work. There's obviously the standard of the CPA and other licensure
Yeah.
opportunities. And so, yeah, I absolutely see it as a profession and hope to keep it that way. I really believe that we can keep it that way, even with the emergence of technology and while transforming the way we work. Keeping it a profession and keeping that sanctity in place, I think is possible while not falling into the trap of having to do it the way we've always done it and having to continue to suffer in the
Yeah.
ways that some CPAs have.
Why is this an exciting time to be in accounting as far as you're concerned?
Oh my gosh. I think this is a great time. There's so many opportunities with technology, you've got young people entering this profession who have grown up with technology. So not just AI, but they're tech native. So they're going to be so great with computers and softwares and able to quickly pick that up that we actually may be able to crack the code on providing high levels of client service while also being able to finally fulfill on that promise of work-life balance in this profession. For a long time, work-life balance meant work from this month to this month. And then again, you only work, during other cycles, and then you have balance in the other months and the intermittent periods. But I think technology and all of these advancements will actually allow for things to be streamlined where we can focus on the areas where your expertise is best used to really advise your clients and support them in decision making and not be so caught up in the sort of the day-to-day compliance or historical work. I think it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. You position yourself as a mentor and coach as well-balanced accountants. You like that phrase, don't you? So what is your crusade and what are you trying to do or change?
I really want to get rid of this idea of the way we've always done things. I would love to support firms in really embracing the possibility of a new approach and that we can effectively create a win-win, a win for the firm, a win for your talent, a win for your clients, and that transformation and change is not a bad thing, that we can find a way to incorporate new approaches and new technology and new mindsets without losing any of the things that have been so important to their growth up to this point. So if I could take that little piece that lives inside of a lot of us, right? That there's just holding on to the way we've done things before. If I could get rid of that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, well, you're certainly on a quest with that. How coachable do you feel accountants are as a breed? I mean, do you have a coach yourself?
I have always had a coach. I currently work with a mindset coach. I work with a mentor on more business strategy for myself. I'm a big believer that I can't go and ask people to do something I'm unwilling to do myself.
Right.
I try to stay in that difficult conversation, kind of breaking through my own mindset barriers, my own comfort zone, because as you grow, as you're growing a business, I'm right in there with you. I'm growing
Yeah.
my practice as well. So I really think that's important. And how coachable are accountants? I would say it depends. I think it depends with pretty much anybody. It's not limited to accountants. I find I'm very clear that accountants don't all fit that stereotype of what they show in TV and movies. I find a lot of them to be very self-aware, very introspective, and willing to look and willing to consider different things and embrace a new mindset. Just is a conversation they're not in very often. It's not
Mm.
coaching, and sort of that the personal growth journey is not as black and white and as rules based as accountants might like.
What do you feel about how the future looks for those accountants that are perhaps a little bit complacent? People will always need accountants. The fish are jumping into the boat. Everything's going fine for us. We don't really need to innovate. The technology is okay. We can work from spreadsheets. What does the future look like for them?
Those are the ones that keep me up at night, to be honest with you. I worry about them. I feel the runway is getting shorter and shorter for how long that's going to continue. I find that those are the firms that when they get to a point where they are ready to retire, when the leaders are ready to retire, they're the ones that are having to make almost emergency succession planning decisions because they haven't done enough to increase the value of their firm or maintain the value of their firm. So they're not maybe attractive to a buyer or to somebody internally that might want to step in and take over those clients, take over the practice. So then they end up selling for a fraction of what they were once worth or what they thought they were worth, or having to take some other exit strategy that isn't really aligned with what they want. So I do worry about that. I think that it's sort of like deferring the maintenance on your home. We need to be doing that maintenance all the time. We don't want to be, waiting, and then all of a sudden you have to invest incredible amounts of time and money and energy into fixing it up.
Yeah, this is great, Erin. A couple more questions, if I
Sure.
may. What would have to be happening in an accounting firm or with an accounting professional for them to think, I need to talk to Erin and her team. I need some help here. What red flags, what things would we be seeing or feeling?
Yeah, well, a couple of the red flags that happen that end up with people calling us is you've lost several people in the last 6 months if you're seeing some high levels of turnover. Maybe you haven't seen several people, but you've lost a few key leaders. So we've had
Mm,
firms reach out to us when they've got partners departing early, or, a key leader that maybe they had pegged for, this person is the future of our firm, and next thing you know, they leave. So that's a good signal or a red flag that there's something going on underneath. We can help you to discover what that is and develop a plan to address it. If you are having disagreements, infighting inside of the partner group, that's really slowing progress and slowing down your ability to take on new, whether it's, technology or evolving your processes or any sort of change in your practice. If that's slowing you down, that's a really big red flag. We need to address that so that you can be off to the races and moving. The profession's moving fast. And then the final one is if you've got someone who's ready to retire within the next 5 years. That's ideally, I would get the phone call when somebody's 5 years out. More often, I'm getting the phone call when someone wants to retire in a year, and then we really have to sort of scramble. We're behind the eight ball then. So if you've got someone who's thinking about retiring in the next 5 years, that's a great time.
yeah, terrific. Let's leave with a call to arms. If you could address the whole accounting profession across the whole of the US in one go, what would you say to them to encourage them and inspire them and equip them for the very uncertain but opportunistic times that are coming up?
Wow. I would say embrace the uncertainty,
Yeah.
embrace change, realize it's going to be uncomfortable, but growth comes from working through the discomfort. And there's big possibilities on the other side of it. So if we can embrace it and not avoid it, there's just so much opportunity, and get support. There's people out there that can help you through this so you don't have to figure it out on your own. You don't have to recreate the wheel. It really can be easier than sometimes we make it out to be.
Well, you've sent a great message, Erin Daiber. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights today.
Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it.